The world that we see here, that we watch, that we observe is full of conflicts, wars, fightings, and feuds. So, we should know what peace is. Now, let's talk about peace. We will talk about the different features of peace. In a certain sense, all four of the national interest objects ultimately are about peace, for that is what power is supposed to safeguard, what prosperity is supposed to contribute to, what principles are supposed to understand, undergird. But in this particular analytic category, we specifically have in mind theories of international institutionalism and two types of foreign policy strategy. International institutionalism views world politics as a cultivable garden in contrast to the realist view of a global jungle. Although they stop well short of world government, these theories emphasize both the possibility and the value of reducing the chances of war and of achieving common interests sufficiently for the international system to be one of world order. International institutionalists recognize that tensions and conflicts among nations do exist, but they see cooperation among nations as more possible and more beneficial than realists do. Pursuing cooperation, thus, is neither naive nor dangerous, but rather a rational way to reduce risks and makes gains that even the most powerful state could not achieve solely on its own. To be sure, as Professor Ines Cloud acknowledges in reading 1.2, the problem of power is here to say it is realistically not a problem to be eliminated, but the key point for international institutionalists. A problem to be eliminated, but the key point for international institutionalists, a problem to be managed. International institutionalists have their own conception of power, which, in contrast to that of realists, stresses diplomatic over military and other coercive means. To the extent that treaties and international institutions constrain potential aggressors, they contribute to the general capacity of a state to control the behavior of others, which is how one international relations textbook defines power. When peace brokering is effective, it adds to the ability of the United States to overcome obstacles and prevail in conflicts, which is in another text's definition of power. Consistent with this sense that peace is achievable but not autonomic, theorists such as Robert O. Cohen stress the importance of creating international institutions as the basis for sustained cooperation. Anarchy cannot be eliminated totally, but it can be tempered or partially regulated. Indeed, it is precisely because the power and interest that realist stress do generate conflicts that international institutions will be components of any lasting peace. This this also is true with regard to relations among allies. States may have friendly relations and share common interests, but still have problems of collective action or even just coordination. International institutions provide the structure and the commitments to facilitate and, in some instances, require the fulfillment of commitments to collective action and coordination. Institutions can provide information, reduce transaction costs, make commitments more credible, establish fiscal focal points for coordination, and, in general, facilitate the operation of reciprocity. In so doing, international institutions help states overcome the difficulties of collective action, which can persist even when states have common interest. This is a very rational argument, not just idealism. The world envisioned is not one free of tensions and conflicts, but it is one in which the prospects for achieving cooperation are greater than realism and other power based theories foresee. International institutionalists also see the constraints on a state's own freedom of action that come with multilateralism as of less consequences than the capacity gained to achieve shared objects and serve national interest in ways that would be less possible ultimately. In part 2, we get into unilateralism by multilateralism debate and the sharp controversies it has sparked in recent years. International institutions may be formal bodies like the United Nations, but they also can be more informal in what are often called international regimes. Cohen defines international institutions both functionally and structurally as the rules that govern elements of world politics and the organizations that help implement those rules. This definition encompasses norms and rules of behavior, procedures for managing and resolving conflicts, and the organizational basis for at least some degree of global governance, albeit well short of full global government. We can identify 5 principal types of international institutions. A. Global, such as the League of Nations, which was unsuccessful, and the United Nations, which is more successful. Number B. Economic, particularly global institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization. Number C. International legal, such as the long-standing World Court and the newly created International Criminal Court. D. Policy areas, such as International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA) for nuclear non-proliferation, the World Health Organization or WHO for global public health, and the United Nations Environmental Environmental Program for the global environment. Number E. Regional, such as the Organization on Security and Cooperation in Europe, which is in brief called OSCE, or the Pan-American Conference of the late 19th century. In none of these cases has the United Nations been the only state involved in establishing the institutions and organizations, but in most, if not all, the United States has played a key role. The other type of foreign policy strategy that fits here is the peace broker role the United States has played in wars and conflicts to which it has not been a direct party. Familiar contemporary examples include the 1973 to 1975 shuttle diplomacy in the Middle East by Henry Kissinger, the 1978 Camp David Accord between Egypt and Israel brokered by President Jimmy Carter, and the Clinton administration's role in the 1995 Dayton Accord ending the war in Bosnia. But this role too traces back historically, as with the peace treaty brokered by President Theodore Roosevelt ending the Russo-Japanese War, for which TR was awarded the 1906 Nobel Peace Prize. So that's all about the different aspects of peace. Thank you very much.